Hey, I wanted to talk about this election and politics and something I'm discovering. It's pretty crazy. I'm trying to think of even the right way to start this because it's so big and it's so important. I'm writing my book right now. I have a book coming out in May 2017, and I'm so excited about it. It was with Simon and Schuster, and it's going to be crazy. And I wrote a chapter, and I'll tell you a little bit about it, about how when we are in fear, we're like a block of ice. And ice is, it feels separated. It feels separated from water, even though ice is water. It feels separated from water. And when you're ice and you're in fear, you're rigid. And you're about your protection. You're more about fear and staying alive. And for ice to stay alive, it needs to be around other ice. Ice needs to be watching the news because the news will keep generating fear and you can stay ice. Ice needs to connect with other ice cubes to stay alive. And what it doesn't understand is if it would let itself melt, you'd become water, and water can connect with the entire ocean. Water has an entire sea of possibilities and ideas waiting for us. And whenever we're in our head trying to fix something, we go, what do I do? The real first thing we need to do is become the ocean. And the media is like a freezer, right? And if the media is like a freezer, you can watch that. And media only affects people that are still ice. Once we melt, we're not affected by fear. We move from a place of love, possibility, creativity, ideas. And going away and going into nature, meditating, getting off of Facebook for a long time, just getting off of old addictions is a way to melt and become an infinite thing. Be more connected to everything. It's fascinating because ice is even scared of water because water can melt ice, right? But it's what ice is. So ice is scared to become what it really is. And fear is the same way. Fear is often threatened by people who are loving because when someone's in a loving place and you're in fear, it's a threat because you're scared of your truth. You're scared to face something about you, and on the other side of that might be forgiveness or whatever, but you think it's the death of your old identity, your iciness, your rigidness. And the election is another thing that keeps us. One thing ice has is a lot of opinions. And the election is another thing that we have to keep us separated from each other. In other words, of course, who becomes our president and who our Congress is and who all those things are incredibly important. But when I'm making this video right now, it's July 2016. And our election is in November 2016. And really our role is to vote, which will take an hour or two, one Tuesday in November. Other than that, unless you're choosing to be an absolute political activist and go out and do something and maybe that's your passion, then that's a different thing. Other than that, what we're actually doing is using our opinions and our anger about each politician, our conspiracies, all this stuff as a way to stay in our old identity because we think who we are is ice. And I caught myself watching a lot of the Republican convention, then I watched most of the Democratic convention, and I realized how much I'm just caught up in this drama as a great way to not face my emotions. And what I realize is that when you go away and you get off of things and you just face yourself, all kinds of stuff comes to the surface, and you will really want to, like, I haven't been on Facebook in 3 hours, I better check it. And you're like, who is trying to stay ice here? I haven't been on, I haven't heard about what Trump said in response to Hillary lately, or I haven't gone through Facebook and joined in other people's opinions or stated my angry opinion about my feelings about Bernie or anything like that. And we're just sitting here really still caught up in our fear, wanting to say this. And what we don't understand is when we finally get away from that, all kinds of emotions inside of us are trying to come up and leave. And what they need is for us to be away from things, be away from gossiping about something that really is outside of us. These are things we really can't control. I get that people hear that and go, I can control that, we can change the world. Yes. You can angrily change the world and go in there and make things change on that level. But when you melt, when you get away, you create a new power in you. Because when you're ice cube, all you can do is at the level of staying an ice cube. So your solution is to fix everything and stay in a place of fear. Like, how do I do this? How do I do that? How is a very ice cube question. What do I do now? A very ice cube question, because you're trying to fix something that's really not broken. The first thing to do is melt. And when you melt, you become the whole ocean. There is an infinite sea of possibilities and creativity and power trying to come in you. And when you become the ocean, that's how you change the world. And one thing that's really exciting to me is I really believe that more and more of the world right now is like the ocean. More and more of the world is warmer, and ice cubes are falling apart because our iciness is so not sustainable. We're just on Facebook going crazy or looking at opinions, and we're starting to get depressed because we're also seeing that the political system might not be moving the way all of us want. We're starting to see that our external world isn't our savior, and we have to go within and we have to look at ourselves. Ice never wants to look at itself, but when it finally does, it'll finally let go and it'll melt and it will become free, because you're going to be water. And you're going to be fluid, and you're going to be able to adjust, and you're going to be forgiving, and you're going to be able to hear other people. And you're not about being right anymore. You're about being free and creative and playful. And you're not about surviving anymore. You're about thriving. And we have all these things that we don't realize are addictions. Usually what stops us from our amazing power is an addiction. And we only label alcohol and drugs as addictions, but we don't realize controlling, worrying, staying consumed with something outside of you that really you can't do anything about other than voting, unless you're choosing to be an activist. But most people are in their house in July and August and September. They're going to be pacing around worrying about Trump or worrying about Hillary or talking about this stuff, just being a giant opinion as a way to stay your past you, as a way to stay ice. And the last couple days, I've just gotten away from it. And I felt myself want to be involved, and I felt myself dying to have an opinion. And then I saw this little boy in me that wants to have a voice and get someone to understand me. And really, I'm just looking for my mom's approval through people. And I want to make my opinion politically and have people go, good point, Kyle. And I'm really not trying to change the world. I'm trying to just be seen. And if you look through Facebook, everyone's just trying to be seen and heard. And it doesn't matter if you agree with them. You can just give them love and free them from this bullshit that we need to sit here and say all of this stuff and have our opinions and fight each other and stay against each other. Hillary and Trump people can stay against each other. Bernie and Hillary people and Bernie and Trump people, we can all stay three separate sets of enemies and stay ice. You have to have an enemy to stay ice. And you're just water. And when you finally get away, you'll notice that all this divisiveness outside of you is because you're divided inside. And you're against the part of you that wants to be a certain way. And there's a part of you trying to come through. And our job is to just melt. And if you turn off the TV and turn off your opinion and just allow yourself to be for a day or two, you will discover your emotions will come up to your edge. You'll love yourself and you'll be free. And in that freedom, you'll start to create really amazing new possibilities for the world. There's millions of dollars of ideas and creativity and playfulness and world-changing stuff available on the other side of just being. But you have to be willing to let yourself become bored and allow yourself to be patient and allow yourself to become love. Love isn't full of angry opinions. It's just love. And the anger that you see in other people is anger you see in yourself. And when you start to love yourself, you can love everybody and realize they're all just little kids trying to get their mom's approval or dad's approval, and just love them. And you'll be free. And this world's going to be freer and freer. This is what's happening right now. So if you're scared, that's because you think you're ice, but you're the water that the ice is melting into. So realize that fear is you're not the ice. You're the water that the ice is melting into. Let it dissolve into you. That's all.